all of that stuff. There's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. If there's sensitive ears, this chant may be bothersome. So just be aware. This is at a liberal stronghold, Toronto UFC fight. And to support Strickland, this is what broke out during the fight. And I think that it's wonderful. I think it's very funny and absolutely predictable after after the couple of press conferences that he had. But this is Toronto. Like usually, and the audience, sure, UFC, right? And a lot of people are coming in from out of town to see UFC. Still, a whole bunch of people chanting about how much they hate the Prime Minister. Here we go. So yeah, that's a lot of people, right? And that's sending support to the UFC champ. There you go, champ. Here's Joe Rogan responding to the F Trudeau chant. Here we go.
Fuck Trudeau.
I was at the UFC?
Yelling, fuck Trudeau.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
That guy's
Canada,
a piece of shit.
Canada, get your shit together. Come back. Come back to what you used to be. I mean,
Please. Please. That would be wonderful. That would be a great New Year's gift. Here is a funny meme. It's an Alberta tow truck boosting a Ottawa electric vehicle, and the electric vehicle, of course, needs to be charged in the snow. So without Alberta, Ottawa would be, stuck on the side of the road. And this is, of course, the most expensive charging you could possibly do, the most exclusive. But it doesn't matter as long as they'll get the car home, right? Charge that darn car up. I don't care what the cost. And yeah, this is true. Alberta does boost Ottawa, and without Alberta, Ottawa would be left on the side of the road. Memes are great just because they say so much with just pictures and yeah, people understand, I think, and there's a lot of truth in memes, and particularly that one. True North is reporting Nunavut will assume responsibility for a number of its own decisions almost 25 years after becoming a territory following a final agreement signed with the federal government, making it the largest land transfer in Canadian history. So that's big news, right? There's lots of details about what's going on here. It says, "We'll decide our own future," said Premier PJ A. Before this, it was Ottawa who had the final decision over whether a project would advance. Additionally, the Nunavut government will have greater authority to collect royalties from development projects. This is something that we've envisioned, said Kwasa. We are becoming an important player within Canada. Nunavut will receive an additional $85 million a year from the federal government as part of a transfer, as well as a one-time funding of $67 million for additional activities. What are the additional activities? Another $15 million will be given for training purposes. That's a lot of training money. The devolution agreement also means several pieces of legislation will need to be altered or repealed in order to grant power to the Nunavut government, including the Nunavut Act. So there's still details to be hammered out. This is just kind of the history of the Nunavut Act, or not the Nunavut Act, of the whole agreement and what's going on up till now. But it doesn't really matter. That's the part that's I wanted to highlight. And also, I wanted to highlight it because of what's going on in Alberta and the difficulty with the carbon stuff, and we're going to talk about that soon. Here's Rex Glacier, and he's highlighting Jagmeet Singh. Jagmeet Singh says this week the NDP called for an investigation into Loblaws and possible collusion as it announced it was amending its 50% reduction on certain foods to 30% yesterday. Loblaws backed away from its plan. New Democrats won't stop fighting against corporate greed. So these guys is that taking credit? It's possible collusion. I don't know. So this letter is dated January 16th, and they're writing to the commissioner to investigate Loblaws for removing this 50% reduction and reducing it down to 30% only. And now they're taking credit for Loblaws walking it back. And while that may be partially true, like that may have weighed in favor of Loblaws removing this removal of the discount, it's not the whole story, right? Like there's a huge public backlash. I think it's disingenuous. And Rex is upset with Jagmeet Singh. He says, "How about calling for a real investigation into Trudeau and China interference, you coward?" And so the Chinese interference in our elections is proven. Jagmeet Singh is talking about Indian interference in our elections. And I think that that's kind of funny. Like, instead of leaning into the Chinese allegations that are tangible and happened, and I mean, I know that most Canadians have completely forgotten about that. That was a couple of scandals ago, but it did happen. And so Jagmeet Singh, though, is leaning into an Indian scandal, saying Indians helped to elect conservative MPs, and he wants an investigation into that. I'll show you that. Here's the tweet. It says, Jagmeet Singh, these are very serious allegations. Pierre Poilievre and his conservatives must answer for this. This is the second allegation that a hostile foreign state that allegedly murdered a Canadian has helped the conservatives. I'm calling for a parliamentary investigation. And Rumnik says, CSIS investigating Southwestern Ontario Conservative nomination vote, conservative sources say. And it's a Press Progress piece. So Press Progress is not the most reliable, not the most impartial. They're very liberal. They're very, very liberal, right? So it's... And Jagmeet Singh using that and throwing in the regime that allegedly murdered a Canadian, right? Did you hear Modi kill the guy? Are you kidding me? Still, very frustrating to see the government continuing to behave this way rather than actually trying to solve problems. Martin says, as a Canadian, read this, it will shock you. Globe Politics says, number of international students now exceeds 1 million, official figures show. So there's more than a million, and this guy says he's got the number, 1.44. So the university welcomed 1.44 million full and part-time students back to school annually. So if 1 million students are foreign, there's only 400,000 spots for domestic students, right? That's what Martin's going through here. 1 million international students now in Canada make up 70% of the total university students in Canada. Universities welcome 1.44 million full and part-time students, and that means that only 444,000 student spots are open to domestic students. Why is Canada doing that? Money. That's why. Because it's one foreign student equals the monetary value of 3 domestic students. So you bring in a whole bunch of foreign students, right? And then you've got lots of money. No problem. Tons of cash. Sure, you can have a diploma. Here you go. Give you that cash. Right? Yep. So Kirk says there's, moving on from the whole foreign student and education thing. That's pretty wild, right? That's not great because the competition was pretty heavy before, and now you're competing with the universities want the foreign students more. The government's incentivizing foreign students. Good luck getting a spot. Like, good luck. Okay, moving on. Kirk says, there's no other way to say it. British Columbia is producing dumber students more than ever, and specifically, more of them are coming out of public schools. Participation rates required student assessments are declining, and less students are taking them in public schools. A 17.1 decline in literacy assessment from 2015 to 2015-16, and a 22.3% decline in math assessment participation on the same time grade 10. Grade 10 students are scoring 14.2% lower in math proficiency in the 21-22 testing year than the 2015-16 testing year. Only 48% of grade 10 students are considered proficient in math, down from 62.4%. 62.4% was seen as bad. Like, we were supposed to be in the 80s, man. Like, there's a PIP, and it measures school and education in science, writing and communication and that kind of stuff, and science and math. I feel, yeah, those are the 3. And it cycles. So 1 year will be reading heavy, 1 year will be science heavy, 1 year will be math heavy, so that it's not always heavy on one subject, but it tests all 3 in years, and it gives you benchmarks for all around the world. And our Ontario's, Canada's PISA, maybe it is PISA scores are reducing and have been reducing. Hold on, I'll pull it up. This is it. It used to be easier to create graphs and things. I created just a little bit of data, pulling up comparisons and things for Canada, but it's not as easy to interpret. So I'm not going to go off on a tangent here. Just wanted to show you that the math scores, et cetera, et cetera. I guess I can't show you the math scores, but you can have a look if you have some time to look into the PISA stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of decreases etc. Since 2015-16, private school literacy scores increased by 2.4% versus a 5.1 decline in public schools for grade 10. 65.2% of students in private schools were considered proficient in math versus 45% in public schools for grade 10. So, and there's all sorts of other examples of our declining proficiency in what used to be standard and basic skills. And that's not great, right? Like that's not very good at all. Here is Mark Carney, and Naya says Carney is getting some ink, so not tattoos, but coverage by newspapers, not by chance. This is focus group testing, and yeah, look at how serious he is, right? He's like, I can handle this, right? But there's a reason he's closed-lipped, right? It's one of those things, and I think that I honestly think that it's one of the if he had a nicer smile, he probably would be very electable. But the fact is, he doesn't. So they don't like that very much. So they're trying to make him electable. Stop smiling with your mouth open. That's the advice. Period. Why? That's why. And maybe that's mean. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be, politics doesn't really care about his feelings, right? The electorate doesn't care about his feelings. They care about the feeling they get when they look at him. And you can't elect him. I don't think Canadians will elect him. The same reason they wouldn't elect Ignatieff either. He was too narrow, too long, and not to say long-nosed. He had a long nose. Not to say long-nosed people aren't electable. Just he was too sharp. There were too many things against him, and the public didn't like him. But it wasn't looks. It wasn't all looks on Ignatieff. The public didn't like him anyway, and the looks just kind of increased that. Tweet says, tweet me with love, says, interesting, Mark Carney is the godfather to one of Chrystia Freeland's children, reported by the Financial Post. The rabbit hole goes incredibly deep. Mark Carney will gaslight Canadians. He will step up as the leader of the Liberal Party. Trudeau will be told to step down. I don't know that he'll be told to step down. He'll retire. He can claim that he's done wonderful things, and people will say, oh, yes, Mr. Trudeau, you've done wonderful things for Canada. You've helped all these people, blah, blah, blah. And then he'll go off into retirement. The Liberals will lose all their seats. Poilievre will come in. The changing of the guard will be complete, and the continuation of the grift will continue, unfortunately, right? I hope that I'm wrong, and Mr. Poilievre is not what he seems, but he seems to be on board with continuing mass immigration, continuing the bad policies. There are some policies he's going to repeal, but C6 isn't one of them. So, he's been a part of a lot of these things. How long did it take him to speak up against the COVID restrictions? Like the convoy had to roll into Ottawa and remove the leader for him to become leader before he would step up and say anything, right? So that sounds weird. Anyway, Chief Nerd says, Dana White lights up woke Canadian reporter asking him to put a leash on his fighters. And he says, if you get your feelings hurt that bad, you probably shouldn't ask the type of questions you know the answer to. It's 2 minutes. It's probably worthwhile. We'll watch all of it. Here we go.
Going to those guys and saying, hey, this might be the one time you need to tone it down.
This might be the one time you need to what?
Tone it down, the trash talk.
I don't tell anybody to do anything. I don't try to control any other human beings in any way, shape, or form. They do it I say it all the time, we're in the fight business, and, if you get your feelings hurt that bad, you probably shouldn't ask the type of questions when you know the answer you're going to get from Strickland. Let's start there. You know what I mean? If you ask him, you know who he is, and if you ask him a certain question, he was baited in that question.
I'm not, sorry, my mistake, not referring to that question, just, Strickland got a little...
I know what you're saying.
Okay.
I know what you asked me. It is what it is. It's the fight business, man.
Dana, I just want to go back. You were talking about, you obviously give a long leash to your fighters about, what they can say when they are up there with a UFC microphone, and you are getting into territory of homophobia, transphobia. Is there...
I don't give anybody a leash.
Well, I'm saying you...
A leash?
I'm
free speech. Control what people say. Going to tell people what to believe. Going to tell people... I don't fucking tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes on any of them. What is your question?
I was asking that question. I'll move on, though.
Yeah, probably a good idea. That's ridiculous to say I give somebody a leash. free speech, brother. People can say whatever they want and they can believe whatever they want. And I don't think there's any. We had two gay women who fought in the co-main event. They sat on the stage with Sean Strickland. They could give a shit what Sean Strickland thinks, or what he says, or what his beliefs are, or what his opinions are. You know what I mean? Go ahead. What do you got?
Nothing. He's got nothing. He was gonna say, yeah, but what about homophobic things? You got nothing, buddy. Harrison H says they realize that suppression is better than banishment. So if you get rid of Donkula or whoever it is, Jordan Peterson, me, then people get upset. But if you just suppress us so that nobody sees anything that we post, it looks like we're lazy. They hate the fact that I post every day. They hate it. They hate it. But here I am, and I'm smiling away. But it raises less of a fuss, he says, because you don't really notice. It's true. People don't notice. My impressions are down 76%, despite gaining 1776 followers with an engagement rate of 96%. That just means I'm not being shown on people's timelines. Yeah, if you look at my tweets, the number of views are always less than 200, usually less than 200, unless I get something that's like weirdly viral or something like that. Like sometimes I'll have like 1,000 likes on a tweet where I think that was a throwaway thing. Like I wasn't meaning to go viral. Like this wasn't important, but okay. And other times when, you think that maybe you're going to gain some traction with something or whatever, and nothing, like 6 likes. You're like, oh, weird. So nobody saw this. And that's it. 6 likes and 20 timeline views, and that's it. So, I mean, it's weird, right? And I think that he's correct. This is the Parsiville, and he goes through a thread talking about the censorship on Twitter V1, and it's in the code, and he proved that. And I've gone through this before. It was a while ago, but I don't know that it's a little technical, and I don't know that we need to go down that rabbit hole today. So fundamentally, Twitter and X have censorship, and X's censorship is even more insidious than Twitter's was. Blonde Bigot was doxxed by the anti-hate group, and the anti-hate group, they're terrible, awful. And now, because she was doxxed, her vehicle was vandalized. And she says, my vehicle was vandalized last night. Does anyone know how to remove this? So people said, go make a police report. And she said, I don't want to make a police report. They're not going to do anything. And she's not wrong. So, and that's unfortunate, because there was a time where you couldn't do that to somebody without reasonably thinking that there would be consequences. And now, I mean, people are very emboldened because they think that the anti-hate network can label somebody as somebody who deserves retribution like that. It's very, very concerning. Like, I'm underselling it. It's way more than concerning. Sue says, now we're going to talk about carbon and carbon taxes and all the rest of it. In last year in the summertime, or like 2023 summer, I had a hard time doing my show some days because the air was thick with particles of smoke and all the rest of it. And we were told this was climate change, despite the fact that we knew it was arson. And there were examples of other big fires in Canadian history being because of arson. And now we have proof that it's arson. I think we had proof then that it was arson. But it doesn't matter. The powers that be, Stephen Gobo and environment ministers, et cetera, ignore the fact that it's arson and instead double and triple down on the idea that they should be that climate change is real and all the rest of it. And it's unbelievable. It's jaw-dropping. We can't have a conversation about the real causes of the issue. Instead, we have to reduce our CO2 output or some other nonsense. Here's Sue, and she says, recent arson arrests in Canada involve people. 1 man, 22, charged in connection with largest wildfire in Nova Scotia history. Alberta woman faces 32 arson charges after wildfire investigation. Quebec man, who blamed government for wildfires, guilty of starting 14 himself. Charges have been laid against an Alberta man in connection with what RCMP call a series of intentionally set wildfires. Intentionally set wildfires is an oxymoron. They contradict each other. 5, man arrested after 4 arson fires in Victoria, Saanich. And 6, Yellowknife RCMP say they've charged 4 female youths with arson for trying to light a fire in a small green space on Burwash Drive in Yellowknife Tuesday night. Kamloops woman, 42, charged with 4 counts of wildfire arson. Wildfire arson. Is that a new criminal code or? 2 people have been arrested in connection to alleged incidents of arson at several cottages in Prince Edward Island over the weekend. So there's lots of arson happening all across the country, and that's being blamed on climate change. And Stephen Guilbeault goes through this. Yesterday, I showed you Danielle Smith's tweet and Rebecca Schultz's video talking about the cap on oil and gas and how it's a cap on productions, a cap on emissions is a cap on production, so on and so forth. Guilbeault responds to this with a nine tweet thread. He says, after a summer of the worst wildfires on record, and there's weird punctuation in here. Like there's 5 spaces, 6 spaces between it and couldn't be more. So it looks like, I don't know, it looks like he's maybe cut and paste this from somewhere, maybe Facebook or something like that. Anyway, there's weird punctuation. After the summer of the worst wildfires on record, it couldn't be more clear that addressing the climate crisis and building a stronger economy of the future requires an all-hands-on-deck effort, but it's clear some would prefer to chart a more reckless course. At a time when Danielle Smith's government is warning municipalities about water use due to drought like Pierre Poilievre, they would rather twist the facts instead of working collaboratively on cutting ... pollution. Right? There's no dots though. It's just big spaces for whatever reason. Anyway, it gets more sanctimonious as the tweets go on, and he doesn't have any kind of. There's no. He's not credible. There's none of these tweets had me think, oh, he's so right. And who was it? Viva Fry responded, and now that response is gone. But Viva Fry responded basically saying the arsonists that you asked to start all those wildfires really, were they paid? Like blah blah blah. So needling him about that, but people are not buying this crap. That's it. Dan McTeague's responding to Guilbeault after this whole thread, and he says, you've chosen to ignore the fact that most of the fires this summer were human-induced, either through carelessness or said deliberately. You also contend that carbon taxes reduce greenhouse gases and that most get more back than they pay. Is it your aim to lie about everything? Yes, they definitely lie about everything. That is the point. Reliable Alberta Energy put out this chart, and they say all generation sources versus temperature range for 2022. This is the same chart he posted Thursday, except with all generation sources and storage instead of just wind and solar. So in minus 30 to 35, the large majority is gas in Edmonton. The temperatures were taken in Edmonton, and this is the average temperatures for all of 2022. And the temperature or the mix is basically gas and then coal. That's the large majority. And then a very small minority is wind, and then biomass, and then hydro, and then dual fuel. And solar's not there when the temperature is below minus 10, generally. Like maybe there's a thin line between minus 15 and minus 10, but anything colder than that, there's no solar whatsoever. And then the solar increases as you get to 30 to 35 degrees, and 25 to 30 degrees, 20 to 25 degrees, I guess. But it's not increasing very much it increases between 15 to 20 degrees and 20 to 25 degrees. There's a really meaningful, you can see the line gets thicker, but I can't tell you what that actually translates to. And then the next 2 lines kind of look the same, and then the last line looks thicker again. But I don't know. It seems like a lot of money for not much production, and there is a lot of utility in getting rid of all of that wasted money that doesn't have much production and put it into, I don't know, gas, right? Natural gas production. Expand the crap out of that and build a pipeline or 2. Drill, baby, drill. CTV News is reporting study warns that the number of air quality alerts in the U.S. will quadruple by 2100. Do you know, the other day, I had on my weather app on my computer here, it was going to be 192 centimeters of snow on Tuesday, and then it was going to be 228 centimeters. I tweeted this out, and I said, I'm very skeptical, weather app. I don't think we're going to get 6 feet of snow on Tuesday. That's not going to happen. I'm predicting that you're wrong. By Tuesday, it had gone down to 5 centimeters, and I think that we got 5 to 10. So whatever. It said 28 centimeters the day before, by the way. So I'm very, very skeptical indeed, of the idea that anybody, experts or not, in the US or in Canada who work for CTV News or indeed anybody else, meteorologists at all, are going to be able to predict weather 100 years out, never mind next week. Because they told me that I was going to get 228 centimeters of snow. It's not going to happen. It's just not happening. I was going to read through this, but I didn't. So I'm not going to read through it right now. Steve, let's talk about EVs. Steve says the Wall Street Journal opinion catalogs recent and tip of the iceberg EV disasters. So the tip of the ice, or the headline on this is the EV backlash builds. And they say Ford slashes F-150 production by 50%. Ford loses $36,000 on each EV sold in the third quarter. Gas-powered SUVs and pickup production will increase. General Motors halts electric Chevy Blazer SUV sales after consumer complaints pile up. EVs have 79% more problems than gas-powered cars per Consumer Reports. People want safe, reliable cars. Hertz cutting its EV fleet and buying more gas-powered cars. Freezing weather a nightmare for Chicago EV owners. So EVs are way more trouble than they're worth, and most people are not going to. When you buy a car, you don't want to have a headache. You want the damn thing to work, right? Old beaters have headaches, and that's why you replace them. You don't replace them with a new car that is nothing but headaches, right? Sometimes I think about, we were driving to, I think we were going tobogganing one evening, and it was far enough away that we were going to drive. The hill that we go to is just a little far away, and so we were driving, and I said, what if we had to like hitch up the horses to do this? Like, would we do this? Like, I don't know, go hitch up the horses, we'll all meet you in the thing. And just because it's difficult, right? Like, there are a whole bunch of tasks that you have to do before you can actually do the thing that you want to do. So every task added adds a cost. And I think people would just say, forget it. We're not going to do that. Never mind, right? Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful